Good morning, everybody. People of Earth. How are you? I have to do the Chinese eyes like Yoko Ono.
So that's how we're starting off.
That's not politically correct, is it? You can't do that.
Not allowed to do that anymore.
Oh no! What I do? I fuck up! Oh no! Good morning. Good morning, Leigh-Ann Mole. How are you?
All good, all good. What's happening in the world?
You're very fresh and full of the joys of winter this morning.
Yeah, if you can't beat them, join them.
That's right. That's right. I
get
like
it done
that attitude.
Yes. Embrace the cold witch with her cold witch titties.
Yeah, that's the one. So listen, I had to do something pretty wild. It's not really, but I had to take one of those Ben Karpinski cold showers because on Saturday morning I woke up and because of all the load shedding and everything else, the geyser timer hadn't worked. So and I thought, how bad can this be if other people do it all the time? And you got that Wim Hof guy and then you've got these people who tell me all the time, oh, no, it's so good for you and cold therapy and it helps everything. So I thought, how bad could this be? I hated it. Oh my God, did I hate it. It was so shit. I'm not going to recommend this to anyone.
It's absolute torture.
Ugh.
I went to a health farm with my mum once and, it was very, very extreme. I've told you about it before, where the guy who led the whole thing walked around barefoot. I think he weighed about 30 kilograms. He had long hair, hungry eyes, big hungry eyes.
They always look hungry, don't they? Yeah.
Well, he was a fruitarian, so he just ate fruit. And we ate nothing. We went on a water starvation thing for 3 days. And then on the 4th day, we had fruit, papaya. And I was pooping.
This sounds like a parable from the Bible. And 3 days they ate only this, and on the 4th day they had fruit.
And yes, and then I was pooping what looked like freshly made mashed butternut. There was no other color in it.
Oh no! Is that the color of like fruitarian shit?
Well, if you're just eating pawpaw, it just comes out exactly how it went in, just mashed.
Wow. Okay. Whew.
What were we talking about?
Cold showers.
Oh, the cold, yes. And we had to do these 4 circuits every day of hot, cold, massage, and exercise. Hot, cold, massage, exercise. You had to do that 4 times.
Ugh.
And with the hot, cold, they had different ways of doing this to you. And the most inhumane one was where they you went into one of those sit baths.
Yes.
With your it's shaped like a W. Your bum goes into a portion with cold water, and your feet.
No, it's called a sitz bath. SITZ.
Thank
sitz
you.
bath.
And your feet into cold, and then you swap over warm and cold. And the other one was after a sauna of about 14 hours, they'd stand you up naked in the corner of this shower with your hands on the tiles on the wall, and they would hose you down with ice cold water.
Are you sure this wasn't Kampstaldra, the one that the Springboks went to when they tortured them?
It was really bad, and all the time they were trying to keep us occupied with little activities. Yeah. And it was an Afrikaans institution. It was it's called Hoogland Hydro.
Oh yeah,
and they taught us things like. They gave us decoupage lessons and card making lessons.
But did you come out a different person? Did you feel it changed you and improved you, or did you just feel like it was torture?
It's an experience that has, we will never ever forget. It's something. It's like we went through the army or the war together. We went in with a stack full of wedding books because we were planning my wedding, and it's just amazing how our priorities changed because we didn't open one magazine. We were just concentrating on surviving.
Oh my God. It sounds horrible.
Sitz baths really bad.
Are great for, doesn't it? Sitz baths are great for women who have given birth. The salt helps with healing down there. Huh.
Right.
Well, look at this. George says he gets in the pool minimum 3 times a week in the morning after gym. It's getting harder, admittedly, but I've been doing it for a few weeks now, and I don't miss it. Get comfortable being
If I
uncomfortable.
don't do it, I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also again, we're so soft these days. The water's not hot, so you're like, oh, poor me, my life is so shit and so hard. It's not. Really, it isn't. Ryan is back at work today. He was very, very sick last week.
Yes.
I think a little bit self-indulgent, if you ask me. I think he was feeling a bit sorry for him. I've also been sick a few times this year. I've missed no shows, right? None.
Oh, come on, Gareth.
Yeah.
We can't all be
all these
superhuman like
weaklings.
you.
All these weaklings, including Ryan, I'm afraid, and you. I know what you're like. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit sick. You can't do anything that day.
A little bit, geez.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know you. I know you.
Believe what you want to believe.
All right. So
I'm going to hospital today for X-rays. So if that's not a little bit sick, then I don't know.
So listen. First of all, why are we not immediately talking about the earthquake?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, people are still talking about it. So were you asleep or awake?
Simpiwe says she woke up for it in the East Rand and she felt it. But we'll get her version of that. We'll get her version of that later this week. Ryan says he felt it. It was like 2 a.m. or something. I was not awake.
2:38.
I was not awake. There's no way that an earthquake would wake me up. Literally, the building would have to be falling down around me to wake me up. So no.
So, but you're also a little further north, so you may not have felt it that badly. But the only reason I was awake is because every now and then I have to get up to go to the loo. So I just got up to go to the loo, and I was just getting into bed.
You got that weak old lady bladder, right?
I think it's just because I had too much wine the night before.
Oh, okay. Well, alcoholic bladder then.
So I was just settling down with the 3 cats, and it started. All
right.
And I could actually feel my face moving on the pillow.
Oh, really?
The noise is obviously the worst, especially, I'm in an older house, so the windows rattle like anything. And I sat bolt upright, and my first instinct is always to run outside because that's the safest, so that you're not crushed by your own home.
I'm just imagining you in your bed clothes, running out, going into the garden, which is freezing. You got slippers on. Your hair is a mess. I mean, it's just a funny thing to picture. For me, this
one
is
cat
hilarious.
Under the arm, the other one by the tail over my shoulder.
Yeah, old cat lady runs outside, screeching into the skies with her cats.
So I bolted upright and then stood up and remembered, and that's the reason why I'm going for X-rays today, that both of my hip flexors are absolutely buggered, and I can barely walk. Never mind run.
Just from waking up.
No, that's been for years now. It's been for years.
Okay,
it's been coming.
Didn't it start when you gave birth to your 4th child?
My 4th cat. So I remembered that I couldn't run, so I just sat on the bed and waited it out.
I mean, here's the actual story, which is quite interesting. So they say there could still be some aftershocks. A 4.4 magnitude earthquake is what they measured. They said that it had been a 4.7, but they had to revise that down, apparently. Residents in parts of Gauteng were woken at 2:38, as you just told us, to rattling sounds and their homes shaking. For many people, they might have just thought like Michael J. Fox was visiting, There were reports that some of the houses were left with cracks in the walls. However, no official injuries or severe damage to buildings were reported. Now, people pass around that meme of the garden chairs that have fallen over.
Yeah.
And they're
we will survive.
Earthquake. Yeah. But I have to say, I remember speaking to someone who was a geoscientist of some kind. And he told me Johannesburg underground is like a honeycomb. The whole Johannesburg is basically, we're all sitting on top of a massive system of tunnels and caves because of all the mining. And at any given point, but at any given point, if the wrong place, tunnels collapse or whatever, you could have some serious problems. There's a lot that could fall down and sink into the ground if, the wrong places started falling apart.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about.
We're not a very earthquakey country, but
no,
we're not sitting on the greatest block of soil.
No, it's not very stable. I mean, it's more stable than a lot of places in the world, but it's not. I mean, that terrible earthquake that happened in Turkey not so long ago, that was really devastating, and that sounds like it was way more hardcore than what we went through.
But it's scary because when it happens and it's busy happening, I counted 15 seconds from the first rumblings till it actually finished. But there were about 7 seconds of hardcore stuff. But in that time, you think, is this going to get worse? It could. And you panic. I mean, we're surrounded. It's fresh in our minds, the Turkey story.
Yeah.
And to answer Cable's question,
what's fresh in my mind is my freshest mental picture at the moment is you being in a sitz bath.
Great. It's really sexy.
All right.
It's a great pose for the stomach.
Carol says, big deal, Gareth, with your cold shower. You're so weak. That's basically what she's saying. Sally Moeng says hello to us from La Gruyere in Switzerland, where he is. He's back from his trip to Africa, where I did interview him, and you must go and listen to the interview with Sally. It was actually really interesting. He held forth, told some amazing stories, and also gave the lowdown and kind of why he's had to go into exile, effectively, self-imposed exile. So an interesting guy to listen to. Yes, go and take a listen. The podcast is on cliffcentral.com. Carl says, I was in Boksburg, so that's why you didn't feel it. Oh, it was in Boksburg. I'm in Edenvale. Our house almost fell down. I made a small poo in my bed. Wow. All right. Mel says, I fell asleep on the couch, woke up because I heard the door rattling, thought someone was breaking in, and fetched my taser and watched the door for 20 minutes, only to find out it was a tremor. Gee, Mel.
Oh, shame.
Yeah. Bakh'abantu's on. He's in Joburg again. Did you feel the tremor?
Well, exactly. Good word there. Hello, everyone. Hi, Leigh-Ann.
Hey,
Bakh'abantu.
You look
people have been asking where you were, and I said to them, well, you've been really busy, and that you were in the Eastern Cape for a while. You're back in Joburg now. Did you get a welcome tremor on Saturday night, or did you feel it at all? Were you even aware of it?
Okay, no, I didn't hear it. I think I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. So I don't remember what year it was, but I was still at Res. I lived on the 11th floor, and the entire building started shaking because there was a tremor or an aftershock from something that happened in Botswana. And I remember thinking, there's no way, why am I running? I just took my phone and I chilled on my bed because I'm like, I'm on the 11th floor. There's no way I'm making it out if this building falls.
No, if you're on the 11th floor, you're screwed. If the building comes down, you're finished.
I'm dead. So I took my phone and I was like, oh, hey, guys, so it could be the end. But yeah, so no, I felt the tremor. It's not an earthquake. People stop relaxing.
Apparently it is an earthquake.
It's not. It's a tremor because, okay, wait, Leigh-Ann. Okay, wait. I don't... So
yeah,
my
shut up and wait,
definition
Leigh-Ann.
my definition of an earthquake, right, is the tectonic plates moving. So what we felt was an aftershock of an earthquake moving anyway. South Africa is not in a tectonic plate, so therefore not an earthquake, a tremor.
Right.
And then to the point where Gareth was making, I also believe that. I was telling a friend of mine that Joburg is built on all these mines. So Boksburg and the west, the east, has a lot of mines. So it's basically like just tunnels and tunnels. Also the south. So that's why we feel the tremor, because we don't have a foundation.
Right.
So yeah, that's my TED talk.
See, this is why I like having you on the show again, is because you actually know some stuff, and you understand tectonic plates and how South Africa is actually, we're fortunate, we're on one plate, the whole country. So we don't have these different pieces of the crust of the earth pushing up against each other the whole time. But what is fascinating about this? I mean, there's so many people talking in the comments about how they were woken up, and a lot of people are so traumatized in this country. You heard Mel thought someone had broken in. Tiger DC says, I thought someone was trying to break into my house through my bedroom sliding door. I'm in Khyber Rock. See, Joburg people are so nervous about a criminal coming through the door. We're so nervous about someone coming to kill us in our beds that the last thing we think is, oh, it could be an earth tremor, you know?
Like the paranoia of criminality is more like that's our national disaster. If we hear FEMA is coming for us or something, we think, oh, it's the criminals.
And Leigh-Ann, you'll be interested in this because I'm sure your cats would have behaved strangely as well. But the dogs, peacocks, and hadidas went apeshit. So all the animals knew something was going on.
Yeah,
Like,
I immediately looked
and after.
at the cats, and they were startled. You know, like one of these where they freeze and look around, and their ears kind of go around like satellite dishes to pick up what's going on. And it was the Hadedas, though. Wow, they went absolutely crazy. And I don't know, they must have been sleeping in trees, and the trees must have shaken them out, and they just screamed. Well,
I have no time for Hadedas, as you know. So I was hoping the Hadedas are traumatized. I hope some of them just hit the ground and didn't wake up again.
Well, there was one CCTV video footage piece, which you saw the earthquake happen, and then it stopped, and then everything was still. And a few seconds later, this bird just fell out of the sky, fell onto the pavement. I don't know if it had a heart attack. Maybe it got woken up too quickly. But just to go back to the Quake versus tremor thing, I watched two seismologists, or whatever they're called, say that it's defined as an earthquake. That's where I got my information from, not my opinion.
All right. Let's not have a fight about this first thing in the morning, right? Please. Bakh'abantu comes back. He's not the reason for us to get together now and start shouting at each other and like arguing from authority. Okay, if we could possibly help that.
Not shouting. And what do they say? I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right.
Yeah. People say that they don't realize that they've got it completely by the balls, right? I mean, people say, I'm not. Often when I'm arguing with somebody, I get quite fired up, and it's not because I have any particular feeling at all. It's all just because I want the facts to prevail. And then people will say, "Oh, why are you getting so angry?" And I'm like, I'm not angry. Do you get that sometimes, Bakh'abantu? Because you also argue with people, and then they think
a lot.
They think it's emotional, and it's not emotional.
Yeah, for me, it's like hardcore fact. Like, come with the fact. Don't come with I feel like, or like what? You see, like what Leigh-Ann said. Oh, seismologist. Okay, that's something to look at. I accept that. But like, I felt like the world was ending because an earthquake and the rupture and God. Oh, okay, no, I'm not blaspheming now in the morning. But
Someone will say to you, why are you getting so emotional about this argument? Whatever, it doesn't have to be around the earthquake or anything. It could be anything. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to somebody about, and it wasn't politics, because I'm just so over talking about politics. You know, in my spare time, I have to do it on the show. But we were talking about something, and it could have been like some social issue or whatever. This person was like, well, there's no need for you to get so emotional about it. I was like, I'm just arguing passionately about this subject. It's not, I honestly am not going to have feelings post this discussion about it. I'm not going to be sitting here going, oh, I shouldn't have got so cross or any of that stuff. But can I also just say, it's still dark at like 6:20.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Look outside. It is pitch dark. Oh, this is horrible. This is the depths of winter. Ugh.
Winter has come. I see someone talking about the Hadedas here. And it made me think of the Pharrell story. Sorry, Gareth. It made me think of the Pharrell story. Pharrell came to South Africa for one concert or whatnot, and he woke up and tweeted at 3 a.m. It's like, what are those birds waking him up? He can't sleep because of the Hadedas.
Horrible.
But South Africans couldn't relate because we just hear them all the time.
I wonder if, because of humans and the way that we live, and we've created this environment which is kind of a paradise for Hadedas, because they are suburban birds, right? They love gardens and worms in the ground and that kind of thing. And I mean, I can't see Hadedas being as successful on the savannah, out there in the bush. You don't really see a lot of Hadedas in the bush, or am I being stupid? Because they live in towns. They live with us.
We see them in the bush. I mean, I was just recently, as you remember, in the bush, and there were there were plenty there. I had to mute my mic many times.
Really?
The problem is that if Hadedas if their beaks can't penetrate the soil, if the soil is too hard or dry, they then will perish. And the reason I know that is because I once came to my front door and there was a Hadida at the front door and didn't move out of my way, didn't panic, just stood there. And I realized something was wrong with it. So I picked it up and put it in a cat box, which is all I had, and drove off to the wildlife sanctuary. And it had one freak out in the box on the highway. And I think I almost crashed my car, got such a fright. But dropped it off there. They said, thank you very much. And I phoned a day or two later and they said it was dehydrated and malnourished because it was during our winter when the ground was too hard and they couldn't penetrate the ground and eat. So that's why they wouldn't survive in
saving those things. I heard they're full of parasites and ticks and fleas and shit.
Oh man, that's pigeons. The rat of the sky. That's pigeons. Pigeons spread cryptococcus and all of that. Hadedas are not to blame for that. They're just the noise made machines.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm with Mac here who says, give me a gun, please. Shoot every one of them. I hate those damn birds. No.
It makes me think of God saying it's better to go to the Bahamas or something and shoot the turtles than buy that packet of Bolton from Woolworths.
Oh man. All right. So I'm actually going away on Friday. Friday's a public holiday this week, everybody. So you're not going to be working. Friday's Youth Day. But I am going to be away for the whole of next week, and I'll be back again on the following Monday, the 26th. So it's
going somewhere special.
No, I'm taking a little break with some friends. It'll be nice. And also middle of winter, wake up and have to do this early morning show. If you can take a week where you're not doing that, that'll be fun, right?
Oh, grandpa! Oh, such a grandpa!
I know, I love it.
Take time off.
I do. I listen. I never prioritize that stuff, and then someone will say, "Let's do this thing," and I'm like, "Well, no, I've got to work and everything else," and unless they kind of put the gun to my head, I won't do. I'll just keep doing the day-to-day stuff. I'm not one of those people who's burning to travel the whole time. I do love going to interesting places and doing those things, but I'm not one of those people who's like constantly thinking about my next holiday. You get those people and they're just always thinking about, like, they spend their entire life waiting for weekend to weekend or holiday to holiday. That's what they live for, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just not like that. To me, the living is the in-between stuff that to me is the purpose. The living is like your day to day.
To me, it's quite a lot of effort. I compare myself to my brother and a friend of mine. It's almost as if they can't stand not having a suitcase packed, ready to go somewhere. As soon as they get home, the clothes go through the wash, get ironed and put into a suitcase, and they're off to the next place, which is amazing. They love that. But I find it quite disruptive. I need to be in one place for a while just to...
Well, I was talking to one of my friends last week. He's going with his new girlfriend to somewhere in Europe, and he hates traveling. He hates it. He's like he's just terrified of planes. He doesn't enjoy it. He starts like having a stomach upset like a week before. He just hates it. He really can't stand it. I was just laughing at him, thinking, there are people who would kill to be going, especially, because the cost of Europe at the moment is just it's astronomical, right?
Yeah.
So I think for anybody, like, what is it, 20 Rand to the dollar now or something like that, it's just it's making it completely unaffordable for most of us. Anyway,
well, the Rand's fighting back. We were at 18 Rand for the dollar. The Rand's fighting back.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're our optimist on the show this morning, Bakh'abantu. So listen, speaking of the Rand and fighting back, and I don't want you to spoil this because I've downloaded the season to watch in my own time, but Succession, the last season of Succession seems to be all anyone's talking about. And it's come up on the show a couple of times, and I've now felt enough pressure to watch
Peer
it.
pressure.
So, yeah, so while I'm away now, I'll probably watch Succession. But you love this show, right?
Dude, I live for the show. I watched the first 2 seasons on Showmax with my little sister. And it's not for kids, but the way it's dark humor, it's a dramedy, but they take everything so seriously. Everything is world ending, but they're talking about billions. It's kind of based on the Murdochs. Like that's the vibe they're going for. Like,
that's what I think.
Billionaire, the Murdoch sons and whatnot. And there's this character, Kendall. He's not the eldest son, but he was promised to be king, and his father is just the worst person in the world. He keeps taking it away from him, and he breaks him. But everything about Succession, 9 out of 10 episodes. I heard George Meany bashing it. I almost took up arms against him. The first season is good. The second season is even better, and then it just keeps better. It's what Game of Thrones wanted to be.
Yeah, and there are no dragons or bullshit.
And there are no dragons. It's just guys wearing suits, and they're not even talking about money.
But they are screwing each other left, right, and center. I mean, so that the dad in Succession, and I'm not talking about season 4 because I haven't seen it yet, but we'll get there. The first 3 seasons I loved, especially season 1. It was absolutely gripping, and that is how these top level businessmen actually behave. Because people think, it's all very cordial and very nice and friendly. And no. These people who have reached the level of billionaire in like places like New York, it is deadly. It's ruthless.
Yeah, it's shark infested waters. It's all orcas. Orcas are our new sharks now.
Yeah,
and they will screw anybody over to get what they want. They have no qualms about being completely distrustful of anyone else, like being untrustworthy.
The greatest part, it's a quote, not a spoiler. The greatest part is when you have the dad. The dad character is the best character. Half of the words he says is "fuck off" to anyone. Like you come with the deal, like I want to give you $1 billion, fuck off. I want more. Like, fuck off. That's half of his dialogue. And he's a great actor.
There's a clip that they've been sending around on social media. It's like a meme now of people, just him going, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, the whole time. It's all he does, right? He says it to his kids.
He has a confrontation with his son, with his kids. He's like, you hate us because we are spoiled and we had everything and you had to work hard to get everything. So he doesn't want to give the company to his kids because he feels they're entitled brats. So he's jealous of them, but he gave them everything that they have. He gave them the shoes so they could run, but now he's jealous that they are running.
Well, you know what? That is so. It's exactly how it is for some of these super rich people. They actually do hate their kids deep down inside, and they are in some ways jealous of them, but they're also resentful that the kids are such like non-performers and non-achievers. This is always the problem with having really successful parents, is that it makes the kids, by comparison, look like they are useless and lazy and stupid, where in any other family they'd probably be like, that guy's doing quite well, that girl's quite successful, but if they come from a billionaire parent or a Nobel Prize winning parent or a really, really successful sports star. I mean, I was watching another thing that I don't normally do. I watched a bit of the French Open yesterday with Djokovic. And I mean, what an incredible guy, right? 23 Grand Slam titles. He's a phenomenon. And normally I wouldn't watch tennis because I don't care about sport full stop, but I loved this. And while I was watching it, I saw they went to his wife and his mom and dad and his 3 kids. He's got 3 kids, a little boy and 2 girls. Very cute little kids. But I was sitting there thinking, these kids, whatever they end up doing in their life, they'll always be Novak Djokovic's kids. There's hardly the chance of them actually being known for their own merits one day is minimal. They're always going to be Novak Djokovic's kids. And there's this one scene in Succession, which I haven't seen this, but the line has stuck with me because there's so many people that I've met who I could use this description for. He says to his kids in a scene where they're all together, he goes, "Kids, I love you, but you're not serious people." Right?
That's my favorite line.
It's
That's
the
my
best
favorite
line. So what I love
so
about
well
that is,
delivered.
yeah, and that is like at the core of what so many people are struggling with, is they're not taken seriously by someone they really respect, and the people who are not respectful of them often love them, but they can't take them seriously.
For the way he delivers that line, Gareth, like I'm also
so good.
related to a story with
good.
my mom. Someone's mentioned my mom when I'm coming back to that woman. So now he's like, "I love you," and then he takes a deep breath.
Yeah.
It's like, "But you're not serious people." He doesn't take them seriously. He takes a big breath and there's a pause, and he's like,
but think about, okay, so that's obviously dramatized, but I mean in real everyday life, Leigh-Ann, you must see people also in business, whether it's social media, wherever. You could see that they're nice people, but they're not serious people. Like they're not the people you're going to go to when you have a problem or a solution or an idea that you want to capitalize. Those are not the people you go to. I'm talking about even friends of yours. You think, yeah, I like being around these people. They make me smile. They make me laugh. We have a good time together. It's all. But would I go into business with them? No.
I went back to your example, doomsday prepping. Who are you going into the apocalypse with? You love all your friends, but like, who's useful in the apocalypse? Who's a serious person?
And I'm afraid those numbers are slim, right? It's not going to be all the people you know, and the ones who are around who are like decoration. Because let's be fair about this too, that you have acquaintances in your life who are not particularly close friends, but you also have those people around you who are they're like decorations. There's a bit of laughter here or there. There's they're good for a few drinks. They're the kind of people who are entertaining and amusing, but you don't take them seriously.
I think I'd rather hang out with those people, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Less pressure.
But like going into business with them, Leigh-Ann?
Sorry, what's that?
Like imagine going into business with them or doomsday prepping with those people. It will be fun, but like it will be a day of the zombies attacking.
But I mean, really, zombies?
Hey, listen, I've told you on this show, I think about this all the time. In fact, I think Bakh'abantu and I have had this conversation a multitude of times too, about I think about the zombie apocalypse all the time. I think about who you would want on your team, where you would go, what kind of vehicle you'd need, what sort of equipment you would require, what kind of food and basic resources need to be.
Have you seen these explosive reports that have just come out in the US, literally yesterday? From a guy who previously worked in government, who says that he's now come clean and said, because just recently, I think it was last week, there were reports of a UFO, and quite a few people saw it. They don't call them UFOs anymore; they call them OAPs.
Yes.
There was actually a cop giving an interview, and in the background saw this thing of blue lights falling from the sky. Where it fell, 911 received a call from this family who sounded like serious people, who said these creatures they've crashed, they've got out of
and they're looking at them through the window, and they're 10
they're
foot
describing
tall.
them. Yeah,
I mean,
8 to 10 foot tall, big eyes.
Okay. So the fact that we all three know about this story means that we've been paying attention. But why is this not the biggest story in the world?
So because of that, this guy's come out now and said, I need to tell you that, is it government? I need to get it right. Government, Congress, and then there's something else, have parts from many instances of UAPs in storage that they're examining.
So stop everything. I'm so glad you brought this up. Oh, because I always feel like I'm the.
Thank you.
Man. Okay, so Leigh-Ann, you've made my whole day, and I hope I'm not going to bore everyone to death, but this is my favorite thing to talk about. Why are people not obsessed with aliens? You know that the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Secret Service and a whole bunch of other branches of government have all been releasing these intermittent kind of reports. Oh, here's a little thing. Yes, we've had these interactions with these OAUs or whatever they're called now. We've recovered parts from them. We've even got bodies of aliens. This is what they're coming out with now. This is coming from people who are highly placed inside. Now,
Serious
I know there are a
people.
lot of, well, they're serious people, yeah. And this story with the guy's called 911, and you can hear the call. You can actually go and listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the guy's talking to very calm. And there's this woman who answers, and she's like a very calm 911 operative, right? Yes, sir. Could you please describe the creatures? You know, that kind of
Subject,
thing. And
she says, yeah.
subject. This is bone-chillingly frightening to me. That you could wake up after there's like this crash in your back garden, like the people who woke up during the earthquake on Saturday, and you look up from your bed and you look through your open window, and there are these 10-foot tall creatures with big eyes looking at you.
Yeah, he said they're looking at me right now.
Oh, I promise you I would lose control of my bowels right there and then.
You see the cops interviewing them afterwards, and they're still quite calm. I mean, if I saw that, I'd be in my car, I'd have driven off a bridge. I don't know, something
I have a point in that. I haven't pointed out. So, like what Gareth has said, like the US over, like I think since the Obama era, have been declassifying these documents, but just dumping them on the internet about UAPs, because that's what they call it. The buzzword is UFO, but UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. So there's been reports like when they were test flighting and whatnot. So it could have been, so like some general also wrote, like when he in the interview, some of the stuff we find is usually like experimental stuff from Russia and China. Like a plane we've never seen before that crashed, like the Chinese balloon that they shot down. But like there's stuff where people literally describe these things. But I think because of Hollywood conditioning us for aliens and like the whole, it's kind of propaganda. They tell us aliens is fiction, aliens it's fiction. Aliens always arrive in New York, so they bombard you. So when you actually come across an alien, it's not as extreme. It's more acceptable to the brain.
So Jonathan Witt, who often, he'll argue with me a lot about certain things, and he's got very strident opinions, which I love. He says he reckons it's a psyop. He says, yeah, sure, advanced creatures are going to travel light years to us with technology we don't think is possible, and then they just crash, like bad driving and all that. Which is a good point. Like, how could they come through, light years of space, and then what? They swerve and they miss a mountain in like the
and
American
landing in someone's
desert.
backyard. I mean, surely they would have had much better intel and been able to find an empty storage unit to settle in. Why would they out themselves if
No, but
I don't know. It's the same for us.
Luckily for South Africa, Leigh-Ann, we have a plan for when the aliens come through. We all watch District 9. We build a squatter camp. We give them a bad name. Yeah, we have a plan. Give them a squatter camp. We're going to call them, they call them cockroaches. We figured that out a long time ago. If they come, we're not going to kill them. We're not going to go to war.
There's also stupid people as well who've turned us off of believing in aliens. It's those backward people in America who claim to have seen something, and they're making it up.
And whatnot.
They always claim that they've had like stuff inserted into their assholes. Always. The first thing. It's the weirdest thing. It's like every time you ever find anyone who's been abducted, why are aliens so interested in sticking things up these Hicks backsides?
Maybe they were looking. Maybe they crashed because they're looking for Jeff Epstein. Maybe they're looking for the island. That's why they're interested in butts.
Yeah. Hey, that's another thing. I saw this video the other day of these two guys who are like they're surfers or whatever, and they secretly made their way onto Epstein Island, and they went right up to that temple of his, and they said it's like the creepiest place they've ever been in their lives. Yeah.
If walls could talk.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I want to know why can't people find out more about that? Why can't people go there and do a full survey of the place? And why isn't there some news network that's doing that? Who does the island belong to that it's so important that we can't go there?
No, because big names are involved in that island. Once we go there, once we pull up, what do you call it, the register, imagine if they all sign in. Oh, Bill Clinton comes up. Oh, hey, yo. He comes up when he was there with Hillary. I'm sure, okay, if Charles wasn't busy with Camilla, I'm sure he would have came up, but his brother came up. So it's big names. It's like, okay, we've got Ghislaine or whatever her name is. We got her. We're done with the Epstein thing. But the more we investigate, the deeper the rabbit hole goes, and big names will go down because they all knew what was going on. But like with the alien thing, so just like on a final note, Gareth, with the alien thing, also like it's very self-centered for humans. The reason why we can't believe that aliens exist, we're so self-centered as humans that we believe we're so special that you're telling me we like on the other side, if the galaxy or the galaxy is light years and vast and infinite, you're telling me what happened in South Africa, well, not in South Africa, in the Earth, could not happen somewhere else across the world where there's another star. You're telling me those conditions could never have been met because we've proven those conditions would be met in Mars.
But I just think, we hear about these stories and people are not. Why are they talking about bullshit in the news like Trump and Biden when they could be talking about aliens? This just it drives me crazy. Jonathan Witt just says he thinks it's all lining us up for our next stay home, stay safe bullshit thing. He said, if government told you there was a threat from aliens, would you just stay safe, stay home? So maybe he's right. Maybe it's just a psyop. We're being told these stories to make us scared. And there are a lot of comments in the comment section this morning about exactly that. Is there a place to have your ears professionally cleaned, like a dentist for ears? If not, why not?
Yeah, there is. Your normal GP does a saline thing, cleans your ear.
Really?
Otherwise, an ENT.
Or an ENT, what ear?
Yeah, nose and throat.
Nose and throat doctor. Yeah.
Well, here we go. Gigashuck saying, as Elon Musk said, the American Department of Defense would have shown us aliens long ago, as they're always looking for cash to increase their budget. What a scheme. Yeah, I don't know. If there are aliens, what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? If they're hostile, we're screwed. There's no way we could fight with them. They'll have technology. There's no Independence Day with Will Smith. That's not going to happen.
Why do we think that they're more... Why do we think they were more intelligent and more equipped than we are?
Because they can come here.
Because we can't go to there. We can't go there. Light space. They find a way to bend light.
We can't even get to Mars yet. If there are aliens,
but we may know things that they haven't figured out yet.
What? Chat GPT.
Or the dumbest alien movie is Mark Wahlberg, but it's also an M. Night Shyamalan directed movie. So these aliens come, they take over everything. The Earth is doomed, and then they finally leave their spaceship. And then it turns out they're allergic to water, and they all just perish. That's the plot twist. I'm like, so these beings are so smart that they outsmarted the entire Earth, and they didn't realize that the Earth is 70% water.
Yeah. Listen, if they are coming, I think we probably are screwed. But if they're really, maybe they're just very, very pacifist and like those ones who are looking through the window of that dude in America, or the ones who've crashed their vehicles. Maybe they just like, we've coming to Earth to observe you. They're scared of us. Someone said in the comments,
like
what if they're... Yeah, they come here to watch us. Just for fun. I don't know. I just hope it's true. I really hope it's true. With every fiber of my being, I want there to be aliens.
But logic
dictates like when you're sitting in these. It's like when you're in these zoo situations where you're watching the apes behind glass and they're watching you, and you're just sitting watching each other.
Right.
It could be just that we sit and walk around staring at each other for ages.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Oh man, I know you brought this up when I saw you last time, Bakh'abantu, but this because the movies have all got so shit now. I mean, I'd love a decent alien movie, but the problem is they've all become like Marvel or DC movies. And I bitched about this the other day. I'm like, I'm over superheroes. I know you've got the same problem, right? You are finished with superheroes.
The way I was so invested, Gareth, on these stuff, like I knew every line, I can still quote every line, but they're just pumping out. It's just dribble now, and they keep pumping it out, and they keep pumping out. And as the audience, we just keep taking it. They're just bad movies.
I saw
like the last good superhero movie. The last good superhero movie was the Batman. And it wasn't CGI, it wasn't anything, it was just a guy fighting. Also John Wick. It's like that's the stuff I want to watch. And what Tom Cruise did with Top Gun Maverick. You see, he trained to be a fighter pilot. It's not CGI, light in the sky, kind of like aliens, weird and stuff. It's just tell a good story.
I saw a trailer during the tennis yesterday for The Flash or something, right?
They all look the same.
It's the same. He's got the same kind of stupid lycra outfit. They all wear these dumb lycra outfits. Who's the Flash? How have I missed out on this?
I've been over superheroes since I was born. I've never, to be honest. And I'm glad you guys are reaching the point now where you've kind of
it took us a long time to get here. Yeah, sorry, we're a bit slow on this front. It's terrible. Hey, we can start Dr. Hanan. He's here. Let's go to Dr. Hanan. I didn't even realize the time. Hey, Doc, how are you?
How's it, guys? I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. Fantastic. All right. So, Doc, we got something for you this morning. Debbie sent us an email last week where Leigh-Ann spoke about the kids' birthday parties these days, and it sent her into a bit of a rage about how parents can't discriminate, right? And we were talking about how kids need to discriminate. Parents need to be able to discriminate. And passive parenting. So she wants to talk about some of this stuff, and I'm really happy to have her back on. Hey, Debbie, how are you?
Morning. Good. How's everyone?
Good. I loved your email, and I thought we'd pass this right on to Dr. Hanan because he's the guy who can probably give us the best advice on this front. So just explain basically why you got annoyed when we were talking last week, and it struck a chord with you with these kids' birthday parties and these parents who are like trying to be their kids' best friends and all of that stuff. Go on. It's all over to you.
Yeah. And I'm glad, Leigh-Ann, I'm glad you're here because you can defend your cousin. But it really hit close to home because it's everything. And I was actually my daughter's birthday party on Saturday. So when the birthday party, we were full swing into birthday party mode, and it drives me because there's people say, and this is always like, oh, but the school says, this one says that you have to invite everyone to the party. And I fundamentally don't agree with that because number one, it's cost. These days, just invite everyone everywhere. And at what point, Dr. Hanan, do kids need to start figuring shit out for themselves? And I don't mean that in like a harden up kind of way. I mean it in a way, when do they need those skills to start discerning and figuring out who's part of their tribe? And especially with regards to values and principles. I mean, that's what we try and do. I've got my daughter here. Speaking of which, yes, it's the right way. She's getting dressed.
All right, let's hand over to Dr. Hanan here. What do you reckon? I mean, like, where do we start teaching children to discriminate and figure things out and decide who their tribe is, etc.?
So the whole point, or one of the points of the email was, can we allow kids to choose for themselves who comes to their party, or do we abide by the rules of the school, which says, well, everybody should be included? And there are a couple of points to this email that are very relevant, but let's just mention two things, and we just want to put them aside before I give you the answer. The first one is, if the parents cannot afford to invite everybody to the party, well, there's a couple of options. One, yes, have a smaller party and invite who you can. I mean, you shouldn't put yourself under any financial strain in order to include anybody, or run a smaller party, a less impressive party, and invite everybody. The other thing was, should we abide by the rules of the school? Well, my feelings is that if you're going to enter into a system such as a school, you obviously know the rules of the game, and you should know the rules of the game before you enter that community, so to speak. If you don't like the rules of the game, well, don't enter into that community. When you enter a country, there are rules to the game. And if you don't like the rules, don't enter the country. There's rules to a workplace. If you don't like the rules of the game, then don't enter that workplace. And if the school says, well, they believe in this inclusion and inclusion criteria where every kid should be invited to a kids' party, and you enter that system, well, don't rebel. Don't rebel. Yeah. You're in that system. Otherwise, go to a system that doesn't have that rule. But let's just put those two issues aside. Should we include all kids in the class, or should we allow the kids to decide who they should invite to their party? The truth is, it's not a clean-cut answer. It depends on many factors, the child's temperament. But I want to give you a principle that will help you make the decision for you and your kids, and especially you, Debbie. Our job as parents is to train our kids to adapt to the real world. Our job as parents is to train our kids to adapt in the real world with the rules that the real world functions by. We want to instill our kids with values and skills and methods and systems and maturity to be able to handle it themselves. There are pros and cons to both. So if you allow your child to choose for themselves, well, I can give you many advantages and many disadvantages. The advantage is the autonomy. So you're teaching your child to actually, I want to have friend A or friend B, and well, I get to choose who I want. But it also teaches your child on the other side selfishness. Community works when you include other children. And remember, if you don't include other children, are you happy with your child being excluded too? So parents can dish out, well, I don't want that kid in my party, but suddenly when their kid is not invited to their party and their soccer party and their Barbie party and their tea party, suddenly it's like, how dare do they not invite my daughter? Now I'm going to phone the school principal and make sure that they abide by these rules. So you want to make sure that you're able to handle the other side of it too. So if my preference and what I teach my parents in practice is ask yourself, what skill and what value do you want to instill in your child? And can you have an honest conversation with them? I know you said your child is 3 years old, so they're a bit young, but you can still bring down 5. Or is it 5?
Yeah.
So five is old enough to have some conversation and help them explain and help them understand that perhaps they're prepared to invite perhaps the whole class, and nobody should be included, and nobody should be excluded. But take into account that if your child rebels, then and you abide by that, then you got to be able to take it right back if your child is not invited.
Yeah,
makes sense, right?
Yeah, there's a big difference in age between 3 and 5, and 3-year-olds, they don't have a clue what's going on. So that's parents. But my daughter, she told me, like, I don't want boys, and I was like, oh my goodness, are we starting this at the age of 5? But knowing who she is, she's strong but soft, and she doesn't like. So you can already see they're figuring each other out and where they fit in and don't, and who they're gravitating towards. And the kids she's gravitating towards are the gentler kids, the ones who have included her before. It's just tough because it's life is tough. You can't decide, in the real world again, who you're going to and not going to engage with. You need to develop skills for engaging with everyone. But I just want to throw something else in here. I think that a lot of people, and this is by no means something that we have the time for today, but perhaps in a future episode of this doc, I see a lot of parents who are struggling to get their kids to deal with disappointment. In other words, it's become
You're nodding your head, Debbie. I mean, it's become so difficult for parents to just accept that their kids occasionally are going to be disappointed, and that's normal, and that's right, and they shouldn't get everything they want, and they shouldn't always be impressed and happy with what's going on around them. Isn't that also something you need to start phasing in at a young age?
Definitely. Well, I mean, again, I'll say this again. Our job as parents to train our kids for the real world. Show me a world for a child or an adolescent or an adult where there's no disappointment. Listen, life is filled with disappointment and grief and failures, and that's not bad. That's life. We shouldn't even label that as good or bad. It is what it is. We move on from it. We don't get stuck. We don't marry moments. You know, I'll be very quick. There's a Chinese parable, a Taoist parable. It goes like this. This man loses his horse, and the neighbors come along and go, I'm sorry about your bad luck. And the man says, well, good luck, bad luck, I'm not sure, maybe. Anyway, 2 days later, the horse comes back with another horse. And the neighbors go, oh, what good luck? And the man says, good luck, bad luck, I'm not sure, maybe. 2 days later, the man's son gets on the horse, falls off and breaks his leg. And the neighbors come along and say, oh, what bad luck? And the man says, oh, good luck, bad luck, I'm not sure, maybe. 2 days later, the army comes and they draft all able men to the army, but they don't draft his son because his son has broken his leg. And the neighbors say, oh, what good luck? And he says, good luck, bad luck, maybe, I'm not sure. And the story goes on. And the point is, don't marry moments. Life is long. Life is long. You don't know whether children marry moments. They go, oh my God, this breakup, that's the end of my world. This failure in the test is the end of my world. This person rejecting me is the end of my world. And we got to train our kids. A disappointment is just a moment in a much greater story. It's like watching a 2-hour film, taking a snapshot, sending it to your wife and going, what do you think of the movie? It's unfair. It's unreal. So yes, disappointment and failure is part of life, and we've got to train our kids to move forward, because later on we can judge, but not in the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm afraid that's all we got time for now. But Debbie, I hope that helps a little bit. It's he's quite wise, our Dr. Hanan.
Yeah, every now and again it fills with wisdom.
Exactly. All right,
I love that Chinese parable.
Yeah, that Chinese parable's fantastic. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Thanks,
Nice to
Debbie.
see you,
Thank you, Doc. Cheers. Bye. There we go. There's some Chinese wisdom first thing in the morning. That's what you need. What is the? I'm hearing like a funny sound. I think it's coming from you.
Static,
Yeah.
You think it's coming from me? Oh, blame the black guy, Gareth.
Of course, it's your fault. All right, we'll be back in a moment. We'll try and find out what's going on with the blacks, and then we'll come back. You can join us, and you can comment on the YouTubes. Like and subscribe, please. It does help with the algorithm and everything else. And we'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. Busy Monday morning to start your week.
Up next in the Auto Trader podcast.
Mobility as a service. How would you kind of define that before we get into what we're talking about exactly?
Well, I think what fits into mobility as a service is anything outside the pure ownership of the asset or the car.
Yeah.
Okay. So mobility as a service, taxis fits into that category. Uber fits into that category. But I think what you want to get into is mobility as a service where there's a longer usage of the car.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on CliffCentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's the decade that just won't go away. mainly because we won't let it. It's That 80s Show, the show that taste forgot. Every Friday, Paolo and Dory remember the 80s. Movies, music, fashion, wham, beachies, and the half. If it was acceptable in the 80s, it will get you cancelled today. That 80s Show. New episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on CliffCentral.com.
All right, we are live. We are here to hopefully entertain you, make you feel a little bit better this cold, wintry Monday morning. Bakh'abantu, Leigh-Ann, me, and you. And you can also drop us a comment if you'd like in the comment section. That's where everybody joins in and joins the fray, and they throw mean insults at each other and at us, and it's all very collegial. You can tell. There's a lot going on in the comment section. Hamin says, "I don't know. I think rebelling is important. Teach a child to question the system." Do you think because Leigh-Ann, you don't rebel at all. You are compliant to the max.
Only when it suits me, but I generally am compliant. And yeah, just it's that whole belief of this is a society and we need to coexist, and harm avoidance and conflict avoidance. So it depends on your personality type, really. But I think kids do need to feel that feeling of rebelling, even if it's in a more controlled situation. I wouldn't, if I was trying to decide on what a human experiences in their life, I would want them to have that feeling of rebelling. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, there's something also there's something about like teenage rebelliousness that is essential, I would say, for anybody who's growing up. If you don't rebel, you're going to be kind of boring, if you ask me.
Yeah, and you need to learn. Sometimes rebelling is going to come and bite you in the ass, and you need to be able to learn that feeling too.
Learn some hard lessons, right? Yeah. Tracy says, I want to hear what you think about this, Bakh'abantu, but talking of rejection and disappointment, high school application results are out. Many kids didn't get into the schools of their choice. Rejection levels are a new high, heartbreaking in some cases. What do you think of that?
Hey, that's very hard, right? First of all, Leigh-Ann looks very beautiful. I think the sun came out. You're looking very stunning, man.
Yeah, I don't look good at night.
Radiant, madam, radiant. Very nice.
But no, in terms of rejections and whatnot, it really does affect your life. The rejection from high schools and whatnot. It gets worse in varsities. That's why we also always get these lines where, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's always riots and lines when the matric results come out, and then people want school. And then because they didn't apply on time and whatnot, and they're getting rejected, and then schools people are striking for people to come back. So it's that type of rejection. People hate rejection, and it's so, but it's part of life. You can't always get what you want, but it goes back to how you were raised. If you were raised as, hey, buddy, what do you want? You're going to live thinking that the whole world treats you special. But people aren't special unless you do something special.
But yeah, I do think like disappointment is an important thing. And the reason I bring this up is because I remember it was Easter. And we all went for an Easter lunch with family. And my sister-in-law and my brother arrived with their kids. And there wasn't an Easter egg hunt. For some reason, they thought there would be an Easter egg hunt. And my sister-in-law said, and my brother was like backing her on this, like, oh, the boys are so disappointed that there isn't an Easter egg hunt. And then they basically went and hid eggs for them anyway. I was like, no, let them be disappointed. This isn't going to ruin their lives. And if they don't have little disappointments along the way, then the big ones when they come are going to be so devastating that they're not going to be able to deal with them.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much depression with kids currently, because we were raised that the world is your oyster. You can get anything you want. And then when life hits, because life doesn't give you what you want, it's a crash and burn situation.
Yeah.
Like when that boyfriend comes, you fall apart. You don't have the tools to handle it.
Right.
But it's so difficult. Where do you draw the line? And this is why I'm just grateful that I don't have to do this in my life. But that feeling of wanting to put your kids in a cotton wool ball and protect them. I mean, there are things that my mom protected me from that I had to experience later on, and I was completely shocked when I had to go through them. Like divorce. I wasn't prepared for that, even though my mom had been through a divorce. There was an opportunity there. But how much do you want your 3-year-old to know about divorce? It's really difficult, guys. I mean, your child's going to come across situations, whether you've prepared them or not. You can't prepare them for everything.
There's no manual, but also what does count really is just prep work, also time and place. You can't be telling a 3-year-old about divorce.
Yeah,
but when you grow up, let's say you have that first breakup. No, this is at 16 now, I assume. The parent's job is to filter through the stuff, filter through your emotions, filter through your personality, and get the point across that it comes and goes. Life has ebbs and flows. So you're in an ebb, but doesn't mean you'll always be in an ebb. You will flow one day.
Well, but this is also, again, I don't want to reiterate it, but I do think that it's important to have small disappointments. Like if you don't have the small ones along the way, then the big ones really knock you out. And I can promise you, like, not having your Easter egg hunt is gonna, it's not gonna damage you. You're not gonna be like this basket case adult one day going, and then I'll never forget the day that we didn't have the Easter egg hunt. Because if you're that kind of person, life is gonna be so goddamn hard for you. Everything's going to be a problem.
It reminds me of the one time standing in the queue at the shopping center, and the little boy in front in the trolley with his mom asked if he could please have one of the sweets in the aisle. And she kept saying no. And eventually he said, "Mom, I will never, ever, 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 ever be happy again."
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody laughed. And that for him, that was the end of his life right there.
Yeah. Right. Well, listen, I got to tell you this story because this is in the news and it's pretty frightening. Former public protector Thuli Madonsela said a scammer impersonating one of her friends on WhatsApp stole around 10,000 Rand from her and another friend over 3 months. She's not alone, as WhatsApp is commonly used by scammers to defraud South Africans out of their hard-earned money, often by taking advantage of their goodwill. On Wednesday, Thuli Madonsela tweeted about the incident that occurred in late 2021 and called for others with similar experiences to come forward and share their experiences. Looking back, she told News 24, it should have been obvious that the person she was giving money to was not her friend, but it was only when the scammer became greedy and brazen that she worked out what was happening. She said she was treated like an ATM. By the scammer. So here's how it goes. So she provided some screenshots of the conversation and recounted some of it orally. In early 2021, one of her friends lost their phone. Somehow the phone ended up in the hands of a scammer who still had access to the friend's WhatsApp profile. In September 2021, the scammer reached out to Madonsela for the first time. "Hi, Thuli, what's the friend's name? How are you?" So then I'm going to read to you what's on the thing here. "Thuli, please, really need help, like right now, please. I'm stuck." By the way, this person spelled right, R-I-T-E.
Bad English. That's the first red flag. They always have bad English.
Always bad English. "I'm stuck. Can you please lend me some money? I need 2.5 now, please. My bank is giving me problems. I will sort out, please."
And they don't want it in the account. They want it like cash send, like untraceable money vibes.
Yeah. E-wallet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then, so Thuli sends this money, right? She sends the money. And then the scammer goes quiet for a while. Then the scammer requested 800 Rand for a ticket to be paid through First National Bank's e-wallet. At this stage, she said, I still had no idea I was being scammed. So I e-walleted him the 800 Rand. But the next day, the scammer complained he had not received the funds through e-wallet. There's some more discussion, and another small transaction was made to check whether the money was received, but that petered out. In November, Thuli was sent a photo of an empty fridge and an image of a prepaid electricity meter. I still didn't realize that it wasn't my friend. So, I mean, this is so
but
weird.
I mean,
if it can happen to Thuli Madonsela, who's not an idiot, right? Then it can happen to
exactly.
anyone.
Also,
I
Thuli,
don't know. I
like,
think I
if you're
would've-
such good friends with this person, why don't you know what their fridge looks like?
Yeah, why? That's my thing. It's like, why haven't you gone over with sandwiches or, you know, a bottle of wine to commiserate or to just find out how this person is, or
This
picked up
is
the
doing,
phone and
'cause-
spoken to them?
So, I mean, it took her a long time to figure out she was being scammed, though, right?
Yeah, after
I mean,
2.5, it's 2.5 too many times.
2.5. And then she obviously, she says it went up to 10,000 by the end of it. But, you know, like, she's obviously a really kind person. So this does redound in her, to her credit, right? I feel there are so many crooks out there that I think genuine charity cases and genuine cases of need are probably being ignored because people are so worried that they're going to be scammed that they're not helping the people who probably could do with some help. I've lent friends money before, but when I do it, in fact, I've given friends money before, but when I do it, I accept as part of the deal.
That you're
I'm
not
never
getting
going to
it back.
Yeah, you might not get it back. You write it off. If you get it back, great.
Yeah,
it's a gift.
It's a gift. It's
So
not a loan, because you're not going to have to chase your friends down for money. And I've tried that once or twice, and it's a bad idea.
This is kind of a tangent, Gareth. I don't know if you remember, Leigh-Ann, there was this guy that trended throughout December and last year, Bongo, Kanyu Bongo. He's this guy who's by Auckland Park, like Melrose, by those rowboats, Campus Square. And then this guy, they took him off the streets, like talking about real charity cases. So this lady helps this guy because he can speak well, gets him a job, odd jobs, gets him clothes, puts him in rehab. And then also Bonga, that's it, Bonga. Gets him real clothes. He's got a very nice voice. He gets gigs to be a voiceover artist. He landed 2 jobs, went through rehab. He was trending on social media. It was like a success story, right? And then 3 months later, Bonga is back on the street. And then I remember, I wasn't tweeting back then, but I remember people were like, Bonga is such a great guy. Oh, Bonga, it shows that from humble beginnings, you can reach far. But Bonga literally wasted this opportunity. Now, when I see a beggar, I think of Bonga wasting this person's life and whatnot. Yeah, so he's a bad example. He's abusing the system. Also, Bonga, I once witnessed him literally rob a student for his phone to buy dick. So I'm like, this Bonga guy, you guys going about being a good guy. I literally saw him because I went to UJ, and I literally saw this guy hold up a knife to these chicks, but we were very far. Like, and then he took their phones, and he probably sold them for like $50 a pop, and then he got whatever he was high on, and he's back on the street.
I just feel I feel like with this Thuli Madonsela thing, the friends that I've given money to in the past, I let it go, and if they end up coming around and thanking me and being grateful forever after or whatever, that's unexpected, because I'm certainly not waiting on that to happen. But I do have to say, like, these days, I'm much less likely to be giving people money.
You have to make a decision on how far involved you're going to get, and manage your own expectations. Talking about disappointment, I can compare it to finding a homeless cat, for instance. A friend of mine messaged me and sent a picture of this cat that's pitched up in his driveway, and he said, I can't handle seeing this cat starving anymore. I'm going to feed it. And I said to him, that's like giving a homeless person one meal and driving away. What about tomorrow? What about the next day?
No, hold on. That's ridiculous. Like, it's not, now you're going to be responsible for everything else in that person's life. Maybe you just want to do a one random act of charity and it might help them for that one day. You're not suddenly.
So that's what I'm saying. You need to decide on how involved you're going to get. If you can give that person one meal and walk away and feel good about it, then that's fine. But if you're going to lie there in bed thinking, what is he going to do tonight for food? What is he going to do tomorrow? What about his family?
No.
But if you get to the point of getting someone into varsity and getting them jobs, and you're lining yourself up for disappointment. I'm not saying that this person will always become, backslidden and back onto the streets. But that's what happens. There's a guy on our street, and the community group on WhatsApp, as you can imagine, has a million opinions. And so many people have tried to help him, get him clothed, take him to a shelter, get him to rehab, and he gets back onto the drugs. And my funniest is when people say, I'm so surprised he got back onto the drugs. If I was in his situation, I'd also be on drugs, to be quite honest. I wouldn't cope living like he is. So where are your expectations,
Michael says, I think this is probably how a lot of us feel. I'd love to find a homeless person, genuinely try to help them, and make a documentary about how they fuck it up. It's predictable.
No, get Bonga. That's the Bonga story. Get him back. He literally did that.
We already got that.
Yeah, we already have that. But we just need him to tell the story. He can narrate the story with his good English. And he can tell us why he's back on the street. This man, Gareth, is wearing a Chicago Bulls t-shirt, and he's asking for 10 rands from you as you're driving by. A Chicago Bull, like a genuine Chicago Bulls t-shirt, because people sponsored him. It's like, I think it's close to a grand in South African rands.
Sure.
And he's asking, I'm like, come on, guys. No, we're playing games. We're just fascinated about helping people. But on the scamming thing, I don't know if you guys it got to you guys. There was this WhatsApp thing that a friend of mine once sent me. They call it a WhatsApp stokvel.
Yeah.
So what happens? Gareth creates the group and then invites Leigh-Ann, and then Leigh-Ann gives Gareth 100 rand. And then for everyone to join the group, it's 100 rand, and then it goes to the person who invited them. Then the money rotates and switches around.
Yeah.
But someone at the end, I told my friend, someone at the end ends up holding the bag. Someone gives and never gets, because people if Leigh-Ann is always giving 100 rand and Gareth is always getting 100 rand, and when Leigh-Ann invites someone, she gets. It was like a pyramid scheme, and people were doing it. They're like, no, we're growing each other, we're helping each other. You guys are literally just sending e-wallets to random people on a random group, and it crashed and burned. It burned so many people. It's called WhatsApp stokvel. I'll try to investigate how it worked fundamentally. But I remember first thing I was like, red flag.
I think with Thuli Madonsela and the story, it's unfortunate that there are people who will do what the scammer did. But it's great that we live in a world where there are people like Thuli Madonsela who will try to help, because there are so many people who just desperately, desperately need help for whatever reason. I get what Michael's saying there in the comments about how, these homeless people will always end up screwing up again, no matter what. And then you get those people who will talk about the lottery winners, who end up with millions, and then they blow it. They blow it as quickly as they get it, and it's a disaster. And the story's always sad, and people are like, "Oh, it's so sad." It's like,
it's never sad. It's always love. It's predictable.
Yeah,
it's always predictable, Gareth. Speaking about people blowing it, I'm not a sports guy, but Arsenal blew an entire Champions League thing. They were 14 points. So no. Okay, so the way the English Premiership League is set up, right? You play games, you get 3 points for winning, 1 for a draw, 0 for a loss.
Yeah.
So Arsenal was 14 points ahead of everyone. Number one, top of the league. Everyone is saying Arsenal's going to win the league. Arsenal's going to win the league. They were 14 points ahead. And then all of a sudden, I think they ended up at number 2 or number 3. And Man City comes out of nowhere and beats them and took the league. I'm like, this is the biggest I blew it story ever. And they never lost games. They just kept on drawing. They kept on drawing games, getting 1 point for this, 1 point for that.
Wow.
They couldn't run the distance. And then it's so funny because I have this Arsenal friend and they are diehard Gunners. And I'm like, you guys, Arsenal will never win the league. I think the last time they won the league, I wasn't even born. It's the thing.
I always find it really amusing that there are people who, was talking to some friends while the Djokovic game was on, and some of them are like such big Djokovic fans, right? And they were getting fired up, and I hear you with Arsenal, and I'm like, these people get so fired up about this stuff. And as much as I appreciated it and I enjoyed watching it, I genuinely liked watching, this really great Titanic tennis match. And I know it's not the greatest one ever. You may argue that Federer and Nadal or whatever, but I just love the fact that this guy's breaking records, but not to the point where I'm going to get emotional about it, right? I see other people, they're swearing at the TV. They're putting stuff on social media about how, Djokovic is fantastic. This other guy must just watch his step. And I'm like, who are you? You get possessed by some kind of demonic spirit.
That's what I've never understood really about, football games and watching grown men sing songs and cry. And I just don't really get it.
But have you seen it? It's a hell of a thing when you see it, because I don't have that. But I've seen, I think the worst is the Liverpool fans. There's this guy I know who has a big tattoo with the Liverpool slogan, "You never walk alone." They cry at this stuff. Grown men crying at this stuff.
But it's like spelt, "You never walk alone" or something.
Something like that. It's even spelled wrong. But he is so invested in this team. I have never loved anything enough to tattoo it on my body.
Hey, listen, you mentioned orcas earlier, killer whales. So Leigh-Ann's got a bit of a story on this because we mentioned them in passing earlier, but these orcas are so clever and so dangerous.
Yeah, it's a thing that's happening at the moment. So we spoke a little bit about the orcas off of South Africa's coast who were becoming a little bit belligerent. Yeah. And now these stories are coming out from it's Gibraltar along the strait, right? The Strait of Gibraltar.
Southern Spain,
where
Northern Africa.
The same pod of orcas are attacking boats. So in 2020, there were 50 attacks on boats. 2021, there were 100. 2022, there were 200. So they're kind of scaling up in a big way.
That's
and
incredible.
I watched a video of quite a sizable boat or whatever they're called, where the captain's announcing, "Okay, we've been surrounded by the orcas. This is our plan. This is our strategy. We're going to go this way. We're going to do that." And you see these orcas smashing into the boat. So a lot of these, animal behaviorists and wildlife people have come out and conducted studies on this particular pod. And they've said that there are about 3 different theories around this. The first one is along the same area, there was a female orca who was struck by a boat. And they say it might be like a revenge thing.
Gee, that would be so wild. Imagine.
Yeah.
But they're actually they're pissed off about the boat that hit their sister, and now they're all gonna like a gang. They're gonna take down some boats.
And this pod is being led by a female orca, they believe.
Sure.
The second theory is that during COVID, the seas were pretty quiet, and since the return, because that's when the attacks escalated, was after 2020. They're a little bit pissed off about having their territory invaded again. And the third theory is that it's a new game. And the reason why they use the word game is because there's no reward like food in it for them.
Right.
So they're attacking these boats. And what they're doing is they're going specifically for the rudders. And they rip off the rudders, so the boats lose their ability to steer.
Stuck,
yeah. And apparently, and they're saying that this one female orca is orchestrating it all, pardon the pun, and she's also teaching them. So she's teaching more and more of them, and now she's got this whole band of orcas who are following what she's doing. And it gets to the point where these people often have to vacate the boat and get into a life raft or whatever. And once they're in there, the orcas stop. They don't attack the humans anymore. So there's literally no
Reward.
food reward. They're not into they're not trying to get onto the boat to eat people. It's purely a game. And if you look at the way they hunt, they'll hunt even sharks. They'll hunt sharks.
Yeah, they hunt
a mother shark and her baby.
Then at some point they were killing great whites. Yeah, they were killing great whites. It makes you think that Jaws was a pretty scary movie. Now think about Free Willy. Do you know Free Willy? Now Free Willy is the new Jaws.
Well, there is a movie that's just coming out. I saw the trailer of these killer whales. How I think they've banded with this blue whale who does the first hit by rising out of the water and crashing onto the boat, and the boat cracks in half, and then the orca whales attack the people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Their behavior has changed a lot, and it's a big trending topic in the world of the oceans at the moment.
It is.
Steve says Revenge of the Orcas, and then funny puns are coming in from Billy, says it's awkward. Someone else says here that you have to be organized to cause chaos like that. But these are obviously very intelligent creatures. I mean, this requires a level of planning and execution which is just not normal for marine animals, as far as I can tell.
No, but whales have always been considered very smart. They've always been considered one of those mammals. They're mammals, right? Yeah, they're mammals.
Yeah, they are mammals.
They're not fish. Yeah, they've always been considered pretty smart.
Orcas are also. Tracy says they're known for playing with their food. When they hunt baby whales, it's awful. They love playing and flinging seals around, and then end up not even eating them.
And they, as we spoke about recently, they go for the liver. Which is
because it's a delicacy.
Yeah, exactly. And they're taking livers out of sharks, and these sharks are washing up. This is in South Africa, with their livers taken out.
Unbelievable, hey? It really is.
They're terrifying creatures, and obviously now this is going to put a spike in, and this is what wildlife experts are scared of. Yeah. In people wanting to attack them or kill them, especially when they're protecting themselves on a boat and trying to get away from them. So we're probably going to see orca deaths by humans spiking now, which is sad.
Wow. Well, I mean, listen, I find it fascinating that there's this pod is actually playing games in Gibraltar. It's just wild.
And teaching the young ones.
And it's literally being led by this female orca. I think she's also one of the biggest ones, or also oldest ones. She's running a gang.
Yeah, it's a gang.
Beautiful.
We walk straight and you better get out the way.
Yeah, correct.
This is our territory.
Okay. We've got some guys popping in just now, and I'm really excited. I'm just going to mention this man's name because he is an absolute legend. Dingaan Thobela, who, of course, you know as the Rose of Soweto, South Africa's former professional boxer. He competed between 1990 and 2006. He's a world champion in 2 weight classes, having held the WBO lightweight title and the super middleweight title at various times. He's absolutely incredible. He's popping in. The reason we've got them in is because, and I'll tell you the whole story just now, but we've had that famous CliffCentral sofa, that couch of ours, this one, which is probably the most famous. I mean, this thing has been photographed more than any other sofa in the world, I reckon, because it just stood out. It always got everyone's attention. People used to pose on with photographs from morning till night. And we'll get into exactly what Damascus have to do with this, because Damascus, of course, they do gym equipment and they upholster things and they do boxing bags, a whole lot of cool stuff. And we've got them popping by, and they've decided to bring Dingaan Thobela with, as well as a younger boxer who's doing extremely well as well. We'll get to that just now. But first, I just want to throw this in before we get onto that. And Bakh'abantu, you can go in a second, but I do want to hear your thoughts on this. So Leigh-Ann has also got something to say about this package, this parcel that we had an email the other day. I asked Pumi about this. Someone ordered something expensive from America and it didn't arrive. And then they found out that someone else had signed for their package and taken it. And it was expensive. It was this is not a cheap thing. So you found this story about there may be hope for people who've lost packages, right? I love this.
Yeah.
Let's get people feeling hopeful about things.
Listen, you can have hope, but most of all, you're going to need patience. I mean, we've all dealt with the South African Postal Service before, and we've all lost a lot of money and or even had delicate packages broken.
Yes.
But there is hope if you're willing to wait 13 years.
13 years.
This Durban family has received their missing parcel 13 years later from the Kloof post office. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. In Cape Town, it would be Kloof, but in Durban, it may be Kloof.
No, Durban, it's Kloof. Don't worry.
Kloof, okay.
No.
So yes, the date on the posting was marked as 2010.
Wow.
They're in absolute disbelief. It was sent by a relative in New York to them. And her name is Sanya Hanekom, aged 52.
Yeah.
So she would have been 13 years younger when it was sent. They finally received their parcel, but it was quite a thing because they received a notification that a parcel was ready. And now they're talking about scams. We're getting those, right? I mean, I've been getting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying your package is ready. And they said they hadn't ordered anything, so they were confused. But they went, and to their amazement, the guys at the post office brought out this massive brown box. It's heavily battered, very taped up box. And they just kind of stood staring at each other for a while. Then they looked at the label and realized it was sent by her dad 13 years ago.
Jeez.
And they've opened it up, trying to remember what would have been sent. But there were interior design magazines, some sneakers, flavored teas, a glass teapot set, and 2 congratulatory cards.
Damn. 13 years later. I mean, wouldn't it have been even more weird and creepy if like the sender had died in the interim and you get this package from someone who's dead?
From like beyond the depths of death.
Can you imagine? That would be frightening, right?
The congratulatory cards were from her dad saying congratulations on the birth of her daughter, Maria.
Yeah.
And Maria's now 13 years old.
Damn.
I hope they spoke in the meantime and she didn't think, well, my dad's just been ignoring me.
Oh no, like Tracy in the comments said, that's like a time capsule. Look at those magazines. We don't even use magazines anymore.
Well, listen, I hope it was worth it too, because there are some things that you wouldn't want to expire after 13 years. Imagine like some kind of moldy old food and what would have happened there if something had been in the postal service for 13 years, right? Wacky.
Yeah. Shame.
But hey, hope and patience.
All right.
Patience and hope.
So yeah, patience and hope. Those are our lessons for this morning. All right. So I'm going to let you go, Bakh'abantu. Good to have you back on the show, dude. We must get you in the studio next time. See you soon.
Sharp. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, dude. Cheers. Bye. So I'm very, very excited because I mentioned this sofa of ours, this couch, which is like the famous, I think it's probably one of the most famous ones in the whole world. And you may remember it. I'll put a picture up and show you just now. It's been pretty worn out over the years because you remember we used to have that sex talk show, Leigh-Ann.
I was just going to say, every time I look at that couch, I think about the sex show. And I think of who has sat on there naked.
Exactly. Well, this is why it was all worn out, and we needed to have it recovered. And I was ready to leave it at the old premises, right? And then everybody said, no, you have to keep this this couch. You've got to keep it going because people love it and it's famous and everything else. So I said, look, one of the big problems about it is that the sex talk show, they had naked people sitting on it, and obviously the upholstery was terrible. So what we decided is that MASH knew some people at Damascus, right? They manufacture and refurbish sport and gym equipment. Some of their clients include Virgin Active, Planet Fitness, Viva Gym, Standard Bank, and they've got lots of others too. They're also very involved with the 2 boxes that we have on the show today, and we're going to meet these 2 amazing people. But first, I want to thank Sherwin, who is here in the studio. He is there's Sherwin. Sherwin, get up on screen here. I want to show people what you're dressed to the nines this morning. Look at you.
Wow, looking
fantastic. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me, Gareth, and to all your audience as well.
Yeah, and thank you for refurbishing. I just want to show people what it looks like now. It's just been redone. And here's a picture of Retabile sitting on it. done in black leather. It looks amazing. And it really is, it's spectacular what you guys have done here. And I thought we need to find out more about you, but also to find out about these 2 boxes that you've brought in for us this morning. So how's Damascus doing? How's business?
Yeah, it's going very well. Just a bit of our background is, we initially started off as an upholstery business.
Yes.
And, back in 1967. And
So
over
well-established
well
business.
established,
Yeah.
and it wasn't well established, but not to the scale we are right now. And we ran it as an upholstery business for many years. And when I took over at the helm of the business, I decided to take a slightly different direction. In terms of the provision of seating for gym equipment, so still very much upholstery inclined. And then started manufacturing slowly a range of functional training and sports equipment, and now in particular boxing.
Well, it's an incredible business, and I know you guys do quality stuff because I've seen it in the gyms, and obviously, the boxing bags are a big part of this.
Yes. And
I've never used one because I'm useless, but we've got 2 people here who are very familiar with this stuff. First of all, I have to just welcome Dingaan Thobela, who in South Africa doesn't know that name? The Rose of Soweto. What an incredible, successful, brilliant, and talented sportsman you are. And it's such a pleasure to have you here, Dingaan. So nice to see you. Thank you for coming in.
No, thanks for having me, Gareth.
Yeah, so tell everybody what you've been up to, because obviously you stopped your professional boxing career some time ago. But what have you been doing since then?
Well, boxing is part of my life, and I will never turn my back on boxing.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not boxing myself,
Sure, but you're still involved.
Yeah, I'm still involved. And of course, with the help of Damascus, we want to make sure that boxing is taken very seriously and consider that it can help to better the life of a boy child and a girl child out there.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Boxing is a real discipline. You learn it early on in life. It teaches you many things apart from the obvious physical advantages that it will give you.
Sure.
But our former president was a boxer.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Madiba. You met him a couple of times.
I met him a couple of times, and he told me how he went about and in having to, fight as an amateur and all that. And,
Absolutely.
It was great to meet him.
Well, I'm just happy to meet you, and we'll talk to you in a second. I also want to introduce Kane, who's here. He is a new boxer on the scene, and he's doing extremely well. He, at 21, holds the distinction of being the youngest lightweight champion, and he's currently reigning Gauteng lightweight champion, #1 contender in his division in South Africa. So that's an incredible selection of already impressive results for you. Have you've been around Dingaan before?
No, thank you for having me.
Sure,
Gareth.
man.
Like I said, I'm the opposite of the Rose here. I just started my boxing career now. But yeah, I can't wait for the future that holds for me. Just started now. I've been boxing for like 5 years now.
Incredible.
And I've been catching everything up quickly with my great coach, Gareth, as well. So everything's coming together. And like I said, the future is going to be good for me. I'm still a young prospect, and I can't wait.
And obviously your involvement with Damascus. How do you support these guys, and what level of engagement do you have with them on a regular basis? Sherwin?
So we've taken a slightly more strategic approach to sponsorships and investment into the athletes themselves. So we've been quite selective because, quite frankly, every boxer out there needs a sponsorship, but not all of them are necessarily worthy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the boxers themselves, not necessarily always loyal and not always predictable. And
well, it's a tough business.
It really is. And so, we've initially taken the approach of supporting the coaches and the trainers, because their longevity in the industry is far more reaching than, the average lifespan of a boxing career. And so we've aligned ourselves with many of the coaches, but, from time to time, there comes a little gem that can't be, passed by. And we've got an established relationship with Kane's coach, Gareth. And, we've identified him as a real genuine prospect, not only from his skill perspective, but just in terms of his very nature and dedication and discipline and approach to life.
That's pretty awesome, man. Important. It's nice to have a big brand like this back you, huh? I mean, it makes a massive difference.
Makes you work harder.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So Dingaan, tell me, with you, for a lot of people, how did boxing become a part of your life? Tell me the backstory there, because it's now been many years, but I mean, this is the stuff of legends.
Yeah.
And when we talk about how people start getting into a sport, I mean, it's not always an easy path, right? And boxing, especially, you really have to work damn hard all the time, consistency, discipline. But tell us where it all started for you.
Well, it's all started in the dusty street of Soweto, where I had to fight back, when I was bullied. And, I had to cry, go back home after being bullied and being, ruffled by all my elders and all that. So I had to defend myself, go back home and cry. Dad say, go fight back and all that. And I started fighting back and, went all the way. And today I'm happy that I did that. And I'm called the 3 times world champion today.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that there are many people in the world who know your name very well as a result of that. But what do you think separates the best fighters from all the others? The truly amazing champions, the ones who can break the records, who can run the game.
Yeah.
Who are those people and why do they do better? What does it take?
Well, athletes who are more sure of themselves, that's there. You have to believe in yourself and know that nothing is impossible. You can go get it. I'm sure when we're looking at the people like Floyd Mayweather, which is a top athlete today, he started in the Dusty Street himself, in the ghetto. He surpassed all adversity, and now he's one of the multiple world champion. So I will say to a young boy like Ken, to say, you know what, nothing is impossible. When you want to do it, you can go do it. I was making a joke now outside with him. I was saying, I started as a junior lightweight. He wants to go back to the junior lightweight, but he's a lightweight now.
Mm-hmm.
But I started as a junior lightweight, and I went to the lightweight, and I ended up as a super middleweight. So I was asking him and his coach that will he follow in that footstep to become a super middleweight?
Well, what do you say?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So listen, how much, outside of the ring, what kind of stuff? I mean, obviously, diet is massively important. Training. You mentioned your coach already. What are the things that aren't so glamorous about this sport that people don't know about, that you guys both, you and Dingaan, can tell us about this morning?
No, so the main thing basically is also sacrifices you have to make, like from a young age. Like when I knew I wanted to be a boxer, I knew from the start, no drinking, no smoking, no partying, no going out. So
sounds like a horrible life. Those are all the things. Those are the only things I enjoy.
So for me, basically, the same thing. Like never go out, stay at home.
Oh no!
3 times a day at the gym.
And that's why I decided to do the manufacture rather than being on the other side of the
show. And you've got the better job. At least you can still have some fun in between.
But at least I like it. That's what I wanted to do from a young age, and I knew what it's going to take to be the best. So I took it all in, and I'm starting to doing it, and I'm liking it.
And obviously, there's a lot of inspiration for you. I mean, you mentioned Floyd Mayweather, Dingaan. I mean, there are probably people all over the world, and you might end up actually taking on some of your heroes at some point, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your inspiration?
My inspiration is, I don't know, I take step by step. I mean, from a young age, I watched boxing since 7, 8 years old. I always wanted to box. My dad told me, once you're older, 16, 17, if you wanted to box still, I'll take you. So couldn't wait. When I was 16, I told my dad, okay, take me to the gym. I want to box. And I met Coach G. And from there, I've learned everything fast. I dropped out of high school, grade 12, to pursue my dream. And I'm glad everything is working out.
That's terrific. That's really good. And you mentioned Coach G, Gareth Strydom. Just tell me about how his influence has shaped your career.
No, he's been a big role in my part. I mean, even... he can tell you I was sleeping in the gym with him because he stayed up by the gym, just like a floor up. So I was always there. Weekends, I stayed in, slept over to train more, to be in the gym. And he's like a second father to me. I mean,
it's amazing.
I can talk to him whatever I want to, whenever. And also, he's like a second father to me.
It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so Dingaan, who were your major influences when you were growing up? And you were starting off in boxing.
Yeah, of course, Muhammad Ali, was look up to him. But well, I started as a karate. I didn't want to do boxing. I started with the karate.
Yeah.
And my favorite, star was Bruce Lee.
Oh yes,
and,
of course.
I'll wake up in the morning and do exactly what Bruce Lee does. But it developed, having to listen to Muhammad Ali on radio, and that inspired me. Is it? And I took that route. I'm glad that I live up to that standard, whereby I had to fight closer to like him, and I went all the way to become a world champion. I heard when you asked Kane, and I said to him, every boxer's dream is to become a champion. Yeah. When you start jumping into the ring and training and all that, you want to be a champion, be it provincial, national, international, world champion.
Absolutely.
You want to be a champion because that drives you to get to that level.
And if you could have a dream fight, when you were at your absolute best, who would you, if you could have fought anybody in the world, who would you have fought? And maybe you already did.
Yeah. Well, I had to fight all the superstars which were there. There was Rocky Lordridge, who was very tough, and I looked up to him.
Mm-hmm.
Salvador Sanchez, I think at my early age, I was called, the nickname Sanchez. But it changed quickly to Rosa Soweto. That's why today people know me as my nickname, Rosa Soweto. But Chavez, those are the people that I looked up to. I thought, if I get an opportunity, I was very ambitious. They were superstars, but I thought I can fight them. But I'm glad that I got to that level.
How often are you in the gym, Kane?
Every day.
Every day.
Every single day, probably like 3 times a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, it's hard work, eh?
It's hard work.
That's really, and you got a decent Damascus boxing bag there as well, right?
No, you've got it all there. Gloves, bags, body bag, you name it.
I love it. Well, listen, it's great to have you guys here, and thank you so much for refurbishing our old couch. It looks brand new now, and we're going to be using it in all of our photographs again. And it's such a pleasure to spend time with Dingaan Thobela. Really, so it's such an honor to see you. And you're still looking fit, young, and healthy. I don't know what I would have thought after all those bouts in the ring, you would be tired and broken man. But look at you. You look better than me.
No, thanks for inviting us. It's great. One thing I want to say also about Damascus is that, most of the gyms, you'll say 80% of the gyms are not well equipped.
Yeah.
From my days, we will.
You're talking about boxing gyms, especially?
Boxing gyms,
right.
Even general gyms.
Yes.
We need more, equipment to be able to equip yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot just come in an open space and just put, benches and all that. But now when we get, equipment that will help to prepare you.
Yeah.
I'm very sure that I will say to all, the listeners, listenership, your listenership, that it will be great. Let them visit the Damascus office. They will find magics, because there is everything that will help you to prepare for any engagement.
You need the right equipment. That's true, right, Sherwin?
Absolutely.
And a lot of these, I think also boxing is a sport that appeals across the board to people. Whether you come from a rich background or a poor background, you want to learn to have that discipline and that skill and be an athlete in that sport. But I'm afraid Dingaan's probably right. There are lots of these gyms that just don't have the equipment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a bit of a carnal element to it, right? It's almost an impulsive response to certain things, this element of fighting. But yeah, with the right equipment, without the right equipment, your success is always very limited. And we've prided ourselves in the manufacture of possibly the best equipment sometimes in the world.
What's your best-selling product?
So probably our 50-kilo heavy-duty punch bag. It's almost a staple that you'll find in most good professional gyms. And I have to say that a lot of the professional gyms have been making investments and, improving the quality of the equipment. And, it's it's so important to be able to reinvest into your own product and your own brand. And a lot of the boxing gyms have identified that with the investment of good quality products, people will come and people will patronize your establishment.
Very good. It's also it's good to know these people, because no one's going to look for trouble with you if you're friends with all the boxers, right, Sherwin? That's about right. You wanted to say, Dinga?
Yeah, I wanted to say something on that punchback.
Yeah.
We've got that GBV story,
yeah,
right?
Gender-based violence problem in this country.
I will say to all the men out there, get a punchback. Each and every household should have.
And the girls
should have.
The girls should have a punch bag to learn how to hit back.
Yeah, when you want to, when you're angry and all that, get into that bag, hit that bag as much as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out that frustration.
Yeah, take it out on that bag. Hang it
right
back there if you are angry and you want to fight and you want to show up your muscle and all that. Muscle up on that bag.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wouldn't look for trouble with either of you two. I'd definitely rather take on a punch bag that can't punch me back.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in to see us this morning. Thanks for sorting out the sofa for us. We love it. And we will hopefully be seeing you all again soon. And good luck. I mean, you've got obviously a huge career ahead of you, Kane, and it's going to be very, very exciting to watch you. So a big thank you to Kane Fourie. Big thank you to the great Dingaan Thobela and to Sherwin Enoch. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Very nice to have you guys here. And Damascus Sport, you find out more by going and following them on social media. They've got a lot of cool stuff there as well. And you can go to damascussport.com if you want to find out more. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
there's
that's
a
a
nice
wrap from
comment,
us.
Gareth, from
Yes.
Calder Santos, if you have a look at the comments.
What does he say here? Would Dingaan have beaten Baby Jake?
No,
not that one.
Much further down.
Oh, okay. I'm not at Virgin Active right now, looking right at Damascus jumping. Oh, I'm at the Virgin Active right now, looking at the Damascus jumping blogs. No idea it was local. Yeah,
absolutely. We're a 100% locally manufactured brand, and pride ourselves in the provision of good quality equipment that can stand or go toe to toe, using the boxing analogy, with some of the big global brands out there.
Well, yeah. I can tell that that's true. Thank you all very, very much. Have an awesome Monday, everybody, and keep warm. That is it for us. We will see you tomorrow.